Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings and my weekly radio show is to provide you information the bought-off, lamestream fake media will not touch. You can join us on our radio show, Operation Freedom, every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. You can stream it live. It's free. Just go to davejanda.com, hit the upper right-hand corner, the little listen button, hit it, and you'll have great analysis, great guests, information that you'll never see in the fake media. In addition, we're available 24/7 for the rest of the week at davejanda.com. We have a free side, a public side, which we upload information on a regular basis. Also the subscription side, 30 cents a day, $9 a month. Extra shows, the WTF, our geopolitical show, our Insider Insight show with guests from behind the curtain to come speak to you about what the fake media will never tell you. In addition, we have our contributing editor section, our healthcare policy briefing section, a lot of information. I hope you'll join our Freedom family. Today, I want to focus on the recent budget bill, the wall, and the security of our southern border. Now, we have a new visitor. Let's call him Eddie the Eagle. Ed Hauser, a viewer of ours on YouTube, phenomenal artist. EndTheSwamp.com is his website. Sent us this, a beautiful depiction of our nation's symbol, the bald eagle, and we all should have the courage, the tenacity of what the eagle represents at this time. Look, there are a lot of folks that are very despondent about this border legislation budget bill that just passed. I was inundated with many, many dozens of you who listen to the YouTube channel who were very, very upset and said, listen, we're done. We're done with the awakening process. We're walking away. We're done. And I understand folks' frustration. But in another way, I don't. Look, this is a war. It's a war for the freedom and the liberty and the future of our country. Our enemy is the deep state. Our goal is restitution of the rule of law, freedom, and liberty, and the destruction of our enemy, the deep state. Many people were very upset this past Friday with the fact that President Trump signed the bill. And the feedback I got was, you know what? This is a lost cause. He sold us out. He's borders on being a traitor. It's over. And unfortunately, Ann Coulter kind of fed into that with what she was saying, which I believe was frankly wrong. I don't believe he sold us out. I don't believe he's a traitor. I believe he's fighting for us every day. But there are some problems with this bill. Look, there are two sides to this bill. There's the money side as it relates to the wall, and then there's the logistics and process side. I truly believe when you dissect this out, the president, the MAGA, Make America Great Again movement, had a huge win on the money side. The money side. Well, come on, Dave. He only got, $1.375 billion, and he wanted 5.7. Okay, yeah, true. On the other hand, remember, he has $1.7 billion for the wall from last year's spending bill. In addition, put forward by the administration, by the Trump administration, in addition to this $1.4 billion in this bill and the $1.7 from before, there is also spending that has been approved that can be moved around, $600 million from the Treasury Department's drug forfeiture program. And remember, that's the tip of the iceberg. Coincidence, we just had El Chapo being sentenced, and he had $14.8 billion. Ted Cruz, love him or hate him, love him here, put a El Chapo Act forward in Congress where we can confiscate his $14.8 billion. And many people say, well, some of that's in Mexico. Okay, let's say half of it's in Mexico. I'm sure we can cut a deal with them saying, you guys get 7.4, we'll take 7.4. You put some of the 7.4 toward the wall, toward security on the Mexican side of the border, and we'll take that and apply it to our side. There's a deal to be had there. In addition, the administration said $2.5 billion more can come from the Department of Defense Drug Interdiction Program, $3.5 billion from the construction budget in the Department of Defense for the military. You add all of that up, plus the 1.7 from before, 1.4, and it gets to 9.7. Big win. It's a win. Here's where folks became, I would say, distraught based on the feedback I got. And that is on the process logistics side. Many people said, look, and we covered this in an interview I did with Greg Hunter, and I'll have that link below in the comment section here of if you want to see it. It went pretty long, but we really looked at this analytically, and we did it on Saturday morning. So we had a fair amount of the information at hand, and we've gotten some others since. But in particular, folks are saying, well, wait a minute, there's a limitation on the wall and the like. And the Conservative Treehouse did an excellent analysis of it, as did Daniel Horowitz with Conservative Review, as did the Center for Immigration Studies. Now, in particular, there are a couple points that are being made about how the president was not served well by his advisors in talking to him about what was hidden, the landmines hidden in the bill. And I do agree with actually that assessment. I believe the president was not given all the information. I believe there were some people blocking information coming to him. I believe some information was withheld from him that was in this. And he didn't know some of these landmines in particular. And this is Daniel Horowitz of the Conservative View. Less of a wall than even what Democrats already agreed to. Well, we talked about that. But in particular, Horowitz points out the following. This bill limits the president's ability to construct barriers to just the Rio Grande Valley sector and only bollard fencing, not concrete walls of any kind. Okay. There's no ability to adapt. Okay. Furthermore, Section 231, remember that, prohibits construction even within the Rio Grande Valley in 5 locations that are either federal or state lands. Well, that's important because when you have private land, you have to go through eminent domain sometimes and the like. With federal state land, you don't have to go through that. And as Horowitz points out in this Section 231, there are some prohibitions on where the wall can be built. That is a problem. His advisors should have caught that. They didn't. In addition, Horowitz points out local officials can have power over the wall being built. Section 232 states the following, quote, the Department of Homeland Security, and many people say, well, local officials can veto it. No. You got to read it here. Department of Homeland Security shall confer, blah, 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 talk, and seek to reach mutual agreement regarding the design and alignment of physical barriers within that city, end quote. So in other words, the administration does have to talk to local officials. That's true. And they have to blah, blah, blah about it. But the local officials, there's nothing in this Section 232 that says that they have to approve it, that they can veto it. So, right now, we have a part of 231 that says, well, there are certain portions that even in the Rio Grande Valley, you can't build on federal and state lands. That's a problem. This 232, I don't see as much of a problem. Here's the real problem. Section 224. And this is pointed out by the Center for Immigration Studies, through Horowitz, through the Conservative Review, outlined actually through the Conservative Treehouse that does excellent analysis as well. But here's what Horowitz says. This bill contains potential amnesty for the worst cartel smugglers. Section 224 prohibits the deportation of anyone who is sponsoring an unaccompanied minor illegal alien or who says they might sponsor an unaccompanied minor alien or lives in a household with an unaccompanied minor alien or a household that potentially might sponsor an unaccompanied minor alien. So the problem here is this. The concern is that somebody who is an illegal alien already in the United States, as a child is coming through the border, is unaccompanied, say, hey, I'm sponsoring that kid. And because I'm sponsoring that kid, you can't deport me. Well, I ran this by a number of folks. In particular, a great source of mine, 30 years worked in the INS. He's a regular guest on our Operation Freedom show, Mike Cutler, and ran this by several other folks, former INS officials. And I ran this 224 by them. They read it, and right now on Fox News, they put out some guy from, unnamed source from the Department of Homeland Security says, no, there are stipulations to this and the like. I rely on people that have done this for many years that I know, not somebody that Fox News says that they don't even identify who it is. I rely on Mike Cutler and some of these other folks, and here's what they say, and this is a direct quote from Mike Cutler after reading Section 224, and he's an expert on immigration. Unfortunately, quote, immigration with this section, immigration becomes a delivery service of children. Children are used in this section as a substitute for a visa, end quote. Andrew Arthur, who's with the Center for Immigration Studies, it's been very supportive of the president and his immigration stand. As my understanding, Andrew Arthur is a former counsel on the House Judiciary. He's also a former immigration judge. He wrote an article dated February 16th, "The Worst Provision in the Funding Bill. Think about the children." Here's how he starts out. Despite assertions by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi that, quote, women and children at the border are not a security threat, they are a humanitarian challenge, a challenge that President Trump's own cruel and counterproductive policies have only deepened, end quote. That was Pelosi. Here comes Andrew. In fact, provisions in the recently passed spending bill will make that humanitarian challenge even worse, at least as it applies to children, specifically Section 224. He goes through that, dissects it all out. And here's what he concludes. To recap, congressional Democrats put language into an appropriations bill that both makes it more difficult for ICE to do its job of apprehending aliens illegally present in the United States, for which, by the way, the appropriators did not include additional funding, while at the same time providing greater incentives for parents and legal guardians to pay to place children in the hands of some of the most vile criminals on the face of the earth. There are some other issues that were pointed out, in particular doubling low-skilled workers. The bill, page 1161, doubles the number of H-2B non-agricultural unskilled seasonal workers who will continue to be a public charge on America. This from Horowitz. And I must say, a number of other organizations, former acting director of ICE, Thomas Homan, who's been very supportive of the president, looked at Section 224, quote, more kids will be smuggled, more kids will be molested, more kids will die as a result of the expanded protections for illegal immigrants. Now look, who do we hang this on? Well, first of all, Congress. It never should have come to this. This is the malfeasance of Congress by the one political party that's in Congress. One political party. Don't buy into this Republican-Democrat garbage. Stop it already. There's one political party, the Republicrats, and they're owned and operated by a globalist syndicate that wants open borders. Period. So hang this on the Republicrats in Congress that sent this sandwich, this garbage sandwich, to the president to sign. Also, I believe we should hang it on President Trump's advisors. Look, Rush Limbaugh, articulate guy, he's come out and said, well, the president only had two options. He had one to sign it or two not to sign it. Really? Okay. So his advisors told him, you got to sign it. Well, what were his options? To sign it? Okay. He did, but he enacted the national emergency. Good. Second thing he could have done is not sign it. Say, you know what, I'm not signing this because of all this 224 and these other sections. No, that's not right. I'm not signing it, but I am going to enact the national emergency. And by the way, all you Republicrats on both sides, supposedly both sides of the aisle, but there's really one aisle, go ahead, override my veto, and let's see how it works out in the primaries for you. Okay? Go ahead. The other option is that his advisors were ahead of the game, God forbid, and they realized there was some real garbage in this, and because people like Mark Meadows and Jeffords were saying there's a lot of garbage in this bill. They gave the White House a heads up, the advisors. The advisors didn't take that advice. They should have said, hey, look, we understand there's some real garbage in this. I'll tell you what, just send us a continuing resolution. Let's continue this for another couple of weeks. Let's get this garbage out and let's get this thing through. So there was a third option where he just signed a continuing resolution and institute the national emergency. Boom. But he wasn't given that option by his advisors. And I really hang this on the Mick Mulvaney's, his acting chief of staff. I hang this on his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who, from what I understand, I know he's been working on the Middle East and a lot of that stuff, and that's where his emphasis is, but I hear he had some input on this. And I also think Kellyanne Conway had some influence on what happened here. Yeah, she's a communications person, but I had heard, and actually was confirmed through OANN, very good media source, James Gerdusky actually confirmed on his Twitter feed. And he's a great reporter. He said that, the president was being blocked on a lot of this information getting to him. He didn't know. He didn't even know, according to Gerdusky, and confirmed by some folks I know behind the curtain, that the angel moms wanted to meet with President Trump for days before, so he had a heads up. And the president's own staff were blocking them from meeting him. And finally, the president got wind of it and actually had the angel moms brought to the Oval Office at 9:15 in the morning when his press conference was scheduled for 10. He's a real punctual guy, everybody says, but why didn't he show up, Dave, until 10:42? Why was he 42 minutes late for his own big press conference in Rose Garden ceremony? Because he was talking to the angel moms. And they were telling him, Mr. President, there's information here that, and by then it was too late. So to all those folks that walk away and are despondent and upset, look, we had a win. The wall, it's being built. Ann Coulter says it's not being built. Wrong. Go off of Paul Sperry, great investigative journalist, who's outlined the wall's being built. It has been built for many weeks. Just go outside of El Paso, Texas. There's independent videographers that have confirmed it, shown it. I know CNN isn't there because they're too busy hanging out at Roger Stone's house at 6 o'clock in the morning because they got tipped off by the special counsel's office. Right, they're too busy 6 o'clock in the morning being there as opposed to 6 o'clock in the morning shooting video footage of the workers building the wall. It's being built. Coulter's wrong. But the bottom line is we had a win. The president had a win, a big win. With the funding of the wall, more wall's going to be built. But he also had a loss, and the loss was information was not being passed on to him for him to make the appropriate decision when it comes to sections like Section 224 in this bill. It's better we find out now than right before the election that he has advisors that aren't giving him the information he needs. Personally, I think there are a number of people in the White House that need to be jettisoned. Anyone withholding information from the president that was critical to a decision is doing a disservice to the president, to the office, and to our country. And the only way we lose as supporters is walking away. Look, this is a war. We won a battle with the wall. We lost a battle when it came to this Section 224 and the logistics side. The only way we really lose is not learning from our mistakes. And the mistakes can easily be fired. Period. He's really good at firing people. Now's the time. There are a number of folks that didn't serve the president well or our country well by withholding information. I hope you'll join us at DaveJanda.com. Join us for our radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern, 2 to 5. Hit the Listen Live button. It's free. Join us on the free side of DaveJanda.com. Also the subscription side. 30 cents a day, $9 a month. You can sign up for a month. If you don't like it, get rid of it. Not sure why you would, because the information you get, the guests you're exposed to, you'll never see or experience in the bought-off lamestream fake media and the analysis that they bring to the table. Well, you thought you were rid of me. This is an addendum. One particular piece of information I neglected to present. A number of folks have said that after the president signed the bill, he signed the emergency order, national emergency first, then he signed the bill, and then he signed a document. It's entitled Statement by the President, okay? And it's on whitehouse.gov website as well. And it was issued on the same day, right after he signed the bill. And this actually, is my understanding, started with Ronald Reagan, where if there are parts of the law, the president would outline certain sections that he didn't like, that he wasn't going to enforce because it violated what he felt was his duties as the president of the United States. And every president has done this on pretty much any bill that's come through. And the president did this on the border bill. And there's some information out there that says that, well, all the poison pills, all the landmines that were in the border bill, all of them, and we spoke about a number of them. I hit the highlights. But the president and his staff addressed those in the supplemental memorandum and about which sections that he was not about to sign off on. And that's true. And in fact, there are a number of sections listed here. 7025, 7029, 7031, 537, 7041, 7064, 715, 702, 188, 405, 406, 403, 409. Good. However, and this is being painted as all the negativity about the bill is all wiped out with this memorandum. Well, a lot of it, but remember the ones I just focused on in the main part of this video. Sections 224, when it relates to the children, and section 232, we mentioned that issue about the local officials, that wasn't an issue, but 231, that limited where it could be built even within federal land and state land. 231, and most importantly, 224 were not listed in this statement by the president. After the fact, we're not going to follow along. And here again, I believe this comes down to his staff. Obviously they went through and said, landmine, we missed this. Fine. It happens all the time. But to date, there's no evidence that they have stopped, signed off, said, nope, not doing it, on, in particular, 224. That's the big problem when it relates to human trafficking and in particular children. There's nobody that's been more outspoken about human trafficking, how it has to end. He's created these commissions and he's every day he's talking about. He's committed to this. And that's why it's obvious that it's not his mistake. It's his staff's mistake of even now not addressing this section 224. That needs to happen. So when folks say, oh no, all the poison pills have been removed, well, a lot of them have. But when it comes to 224, which is the big one that we're talking about, to date, there isn't any evidence that it's been said, nobody stepped up from the White House and said, nope, we're not going there. That's off the table. That needs to happen. Again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your time. Sorry about this extra addendum. Until next time, Dave Jana signing off. Dream big and dare to fail.